Greetings, today is October the 2nd of 2025. There's a passage in the Goonies novelization where Mikey, the Sean Astin character, thinks something about till that old October wind comes along. Came out here this morning and started prepping, and I had on, a ball cap like I normally wear. Wind, 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 wind. And my ears started to hurt. I have a condition called Meniere's. So I decided to put on this. But we're in that weird bit of weather where it's still hot out here, but I have to wear the toboggan to protect my ears, and so I'm sweating profusely, and I apologize. I've been waiting to begin filming this video for the neighbor on the other side of this fence to complete his yard work because it was very loud, mowing, weed eating, leaf blowing, and at one point, his yard's about a third the size of mine. At one point, he put the leaf blower on the front of the lawnmower, moved the lawnmower from one end of the yard to the other, got off of it, and continued leaf blowing. And I was just like, okay, he's never going to stop making noise. I can never begin this video. So if this video feels a bit over-prepped, I've been waiting for the noise. So, as you may know, I'm a bit of a Ghostbusters fan. My sons and I were in a Ghostbusters documentary a few years ago, 2016 I think that came out. And I've got a lot of YouTube videos on various Ghostbusters topics going back to about 2011 when I got the Mattel 1-to-1 scale PKE meter. That sort of started me on a prop replica collection, life-size items of the exact thing seen in the movie. I'm going to tell you a tale about how that led me to, no lie, the most exciting whoever dies with the most toys wins discovery so far. More exciting than any physical item. I was so jazzed to stumble on this, but I got to walk you through the tale in sequence. So years ago, I started collecting things that would go on Janine Melnitz's desk in Ghostbusters. I've actually met Annie Potts. In 2014, I met her outside of the Music Box Theater in New York City, where she was appearing in a production of Pippin. She ended her contract with that show about 10 days later, so it was a very narrow window of opportunity. I've probably told that story before. So this is the nameplate for her desk that I had custom made. There's a brass whale on her desk, and I have one of those in the correct size. They're available in like 3 different sizes, but I gauged it off of when I had gotten the correct desktop telephone for her and some other items. I have the correct alarm bell. It's got the real switch. We're not really sure what this piece is, so this is off of like a metal retractable clothesline, I think. I'd have to look at my old videos and see. And I do have the Faraday bell that goes on the wall that this would control, but I didn't want to bother my neighbors with noise and hooking that up and everything. One of my more recent purchases was the correct style of Jerry Dean's mug, Jerry Dean Mug Makers of Hollywood. This I was excited to find a couple of Christmases back. This is the correct turtle that's on her desk. Then there's an item on her desk known as the Eldon Notary. I bought one of these, and it was the black one. Now, I did a saved search on eBay for an Eldon Notary in white, and I never got a hit, I never got a hit, I never got a hit. And then one day, I realized there's no listing on the side for white. There's one for putty.
So now it's tofu, putty, oatmeal.
So I did a save search for putty. And this ain't it. I've still gotten no hit on a putty one, so I spray painted the black one. I put new felt on the bottom because I had to take the old felt off before I spray painted it. So this was my most recent Janine Melnitz desktop replica for my collection. And I went to put it with the others, which are in a little cabinet, So I went into that cabinet to put this with these, and lo and behold, I saw this box on a lower shelf. Now, I had recently moved some stuff around, so I'd forgotten that this was in that cabinet. And it says, Fuji Ecto and other cool 80s items. Let's see what some of the cool 80s items are in here. So you've got a couple of canned ghosts that I got at the Burger King in Piccadilly Circus in London in the summer of 1988 after I graduated high school. You have patches in here This one is from Universal Studios, which I went to in 1991. So yeah, 80s and 90s stuff in here. This is one of the square buttons like Aykroyd and Murray wore on their promotional junkets in '89, or excuse me, in '84. And just, I could shoot a whole video about this. This was from the press kit that they gave out in '84. It's a whistle. And they had to hand write on these copyright logos. And I didn't realize that that's what had been done, so I tried to take the marker off. So very faintly, it still says copyright CP something, I don't know. I think it's also on this fly swatter. So I've got the fly swatter from the press give out kit, ghost swatter from the Ghostbusters, and somebody has handwritten that CPII or CP11 on the sticker on that. So lots of cool stuff in here. And there was one bag in there that did contain the Fujifilm Ectomobile toy. Now, this was something that I got, somewhere after '88, because I was employed, and we went to see Wayne Golden's little stall up there at the Limestone Flea Market. I've talked about that in a previous video. That's where I got the rope swing to the Death Star and the white tie bomber. So that's in the Toyaholic playlist. And one day he had that Fujifilm Ecto, and it was on the card and still had the roll of film with it and la-di-da. I'll try to find a picture and put it in here. And the price he was asking was $100, which was really, really steep to me. But the little Ecto looked just like a scaled-down version of the Kenner Ectomobile. It was not the movie car, it was the Kenner toy reduced. Except it wasn't the Ecto 1 roof rack with the gunnery chair. It was the Ecto 1A roof rack with the rear back sign and the big radar dish. So I saved up my pennies for a couple of weeks and we went back and I bought the thing. And I cut it off the card. Which pains me because here's the pristine Fuji Ecto that I cut off the card with a little moving radar dish on top in the Ecto 1A style. And I paid $100 for it. And I cut it off the card and I immediately devalued it. And then I found this one for 50 cents. Oh, and somewhere over the years I got a third one of these. Not in this box were some real Ghostbusters items that I found a few years ago and photographed. And what they were pencil toppers, pencil sharpeners, and stamp pads. And all of those were snow domes with little figures inside. And by the time that I photographed these in 2017, all the liquid in them had evaporated. But even before the liquid had evaporated out of these things, back in the day, I took some tool very similar to this, and I cracked the domes open, and a god-awful smell came out of these little domes. And I can only describe it as being extremely chemical and extremely noisome. And it was like, it is a danger to me to be breathing this. I didn't know when I cracked these open that I was probably going to be hurting myself, making myself sick, but I took the little people out, and they were a little tiny Stay Puft, smallest Stay Puft sculpt that I've ever found, a little tiny Slimer, who was very vertical, and a little tiny Ghostbusters logo, what they call the Moogly now, and he was a little more elongated vertically, maybe to offset the distortion from the water, or maybe just to fit better in the dome cylinder of the little snow domes. And a little teeny tiny Peter Venkman. Now, that's not Bill Murray, that's Lorenzo Music's Peter Venkman from the first couple of seasons of the Real Ghostbusters cartoon. And I personally probably identified more strongly with that Peter Venkman than the movie incarnation. So that was a little avatar of myself, really. When I went to put this away, and I inadvertently found these, I thought, oh, this is perfect. I can do a Whoever Dies the Most Toys Wins topic about those, because they are involved in one of my favorite Easter eggs in Whoever Dies the Most Toys Wins. And I thought, oh, if only I could find the snow domes, that would be even better. And I shifted a couple of things around, and I just gave it up as a fool's errand. And I thought, wait, didn't I photograph those snow domes a while back? So I went looking through my Ghostbusters merchandise album on Facebook, and sure enough, I found a photo. And the photo was dated July of 2017. And as I'm going through the album seeing if there's any more photos, I found a picture of these guys. And in the description, or maybe in the comments, I had said, for a better explanation of these with regards to this Star Wars film that I made, watch this video, Ghostbusters from the Attic, Part 4, which I had uploaded in 2011 to YouTube. I followed the link that I had provided for my readers and myself, and I began watching the video, and I was floored to discover that there it was. I thought about this clip the other day, and I thought it's too bad that my only digital copy right now of Whoever Dies with Most Toys Wins is the one that Martin Thurn uploaded to YouTube from a VHS that I'd sent him in 1996. If all my other VHS tapes from the making of Whoever Dies with Most Toys Wins were digitized, I would at least have access to the one behind the scenes clip that I ever did. One time did I ever put a VHS tape in, other than the one I was shooting on, and get behind the scenes footage. And what it was, I had done this elaborate setup to get a depth of field just the way that I wanted it, and I kind of was like, well, I shot the shot now what? I don't want to take it all back down. It took me hours to set it all up. So I did do a pullback where you could see how I had made the thing. For a shot in the Rebel hangar on Yavin, I did a forced perspective trick. Obviously, the larger X-Wings from Kenner are going to go closer to camera. And then off in the distance, I had the smallest X-Wings you could think of. They came from a model kit of the Hoth Echo base. They were about yay big. And so I had those farthest away, and in between I had like die casts and what have you. But I wanted there to be a gradient in the lighting so that closest to camera was better lit, farthest from camera was much darker. And that way I could make it look even bigger than what it actually was, because they were only inches apart. Literally, X-Wing, X-Wing, little X-Wing, little X-Wing, tiny X-Wing, that far apart. But by putting a ramp up, and I coated the sides of the ramp in like garbage bags, I controlled the lighting. So here, fully lit. Here, dark as can be. But there was a dead spot. There was one little area. I'm going to doctor a frame so you can see. There was no X-Wing or Y-Wing or anything Star Wars related that would fit into this spot and be the right scale. So I'm looking all around the room and I can't find anything else Star Warsy that's going to fit perfectly into that spot. And I thought, well, why does it have to be Star Wars? So I gave Peter Venkman and the Ecto-1A a little teeny tiny cameo in that scene. One of my favorite Easter eggs in Whoever Dies the Most Toys Wins. So you can imagine how excited I was to literally backwards tumble into finding the clip that I'd thought about days ago, like a week ago. I thought, oh man, I wish I had that digitized so that I could share it with the viewers. The only behind the scenes shot from Whoever Dies the Most Toys Wins. Where is it? It's probably on VHS. It's going to be impossible to digitize. I digitized it in 2011. It's been in my playlist for years. And I had forgotten. But because it's October, and that's Ghostbusters season, I went to put this item away and stumbled bass-ackards into exactly how to find that clip. One of my friends on the RebelsCon forums, Tulga, said the other day that I was a meticulous preserver. And I thought, gee, what a pleasant way to call somebody a hoarder. But sometimes I not only hoard the physical items, I hoard the electronic items too. And I'm so glad that I found that to share with all of you. Thanks for watching. Where she was performing in a production of what's the name of the play? Pippin. Where she was performing in a production of Pippin.